We're Hassani and Danielle Pettiford, and we're a real couple with real problems who almost called it quits.
I was very frustrated. I became very disconnected, very jaded and cold.
We have 4 children, going on 20 years of marriage, and we practice what we preach.
Our mission, to change the way couples relate to one another and teach them the skills needed to improve the quality of their relationships. This is the Couples Academy Show.
The Couples Academy Show. It is Friday, and that means it's Ask the Experts. And can you hear me, guys?
Yep.
You can hear me. Okay. We've got Jeff, Roland, and Lakeisha on the show, ready to answer your questions. So make sure you get them in so that we can spend time unpacking what it is that you need to transform your life. But in the meantime, I'm just I'm in a flow of sharing with you testimonials of couples who just got finished with the Last Chance weekend, because I want you to hear from them. It's one thing to hear from us about the impact that it makes on their lives, but when it comes to their voices, it truly makes a difference. So we're going to hear from Michael and Frida Blair. So watch this and we'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Frida Blair. I'm from Winchester, Kentucky, and we were here for the Last Chance, and I'll tell you the truth. This has been the best thing that we have ever invested in. We are just excited and glad that we came this weekend. We are changed. Transformation happened. If you want a blessing, you've got to get here. You've got to come.
My name is Michael Blair, and this is the Last Chance weekend, and it has been completely amazing. It will change your life forever. So if you're looking for something that will certainly change the direction of your marriage and cause you to be a better man or a better woman, this is it right here. Come and be a part and leave being a totally different man and woman. God bless you, and it works.
It works.
Wasn't that just a cool couple to spend the weekend with?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
To see how they come in and to see how they leave, you're like, how could all of this be done in 3 days? Let me just tell a quick story about the power of transformation, and then we're going to get into today's questions. Lakeisha, I want you to jump in and read Ben's questions, and then we're going to begin to unpack them. But Dr. Joe Dispenza, who is a scientist, a doctor, he's written a number of books. One of those books is entitled Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And he talked about in his book, there was a story of when he went to a seminar many years ago. And every registrant at that seminar, they were literally measured from head to toe, every arm, every leg, every ligament. They even had to put on, they measured their brain frequencies on day 1. And after going through certain lessons and experiential learning, at the end of the 3 days, they measured all of them again. And they noticed that people got taller, limbs began to stretch, the vibrational frequencies of their minds began to increase to a high level. They literally went through a physical, emotional, and mental change in 3 days. And that's the power of what can happen in 3 days. But what happened was, about a month or 2 later, when they were measured again, some of them shrunk. Their vibrational frequencies went down. Their brain waves, it began to shift. Why? Because they took their new cells back into an old environment and began to engage in old patterns and habits and tendencies. And that becomes the challenge. See, when that thing happens, that means that you have to go back to what you were doing initially. And that's why the Last Chance weekend is so important, because you're going to get a transformation in that experience, but we carry you through several steps beyond that to ensure that success remains a part of your everyday. That is not just a transformation, but that it's a permanent restoration of your relationship. So Last Chance weekend, the next one is coming up in January, the second weekend. People are starting to register. We want to make sure that you start your year off phenomenally well. Okay. So sign up for that. Reach out to us at the number at the bottom of the screen. Set up a discovery call by going to couplesacademy.org. All right, guys, we're about to dive in. We have another practitioner. We've been waiting for you, man. It's been months since we've seen you. We need your brilliance. Brother Walter is in the building. So Lakeisha, let's take us away. Let's get into these questions. Lakeisha, can't hear you, sis. You got to unmute.
I mean, sorry. Good morning, Ben. How are you?
What's going on, Ben?
Getting in early at lat day number 2 at the gym yesterday. So many good points on how divorces are expensive, predominantly for men. Didn't have enough thumbs to put up. The balance was Lakeisha point 3-1. I believe both spouses should stay humble. Men should because of cost. Women, their acres of land. You can water crabgrass all you want, rolling as a cert pesticide. I don't know what that is. Application. I tell you to
Certified.
steal crabgrass. Both parties need to water. All the love, though, brother. Getting a tailored suit is my inspiration to lose weight, and excuses don't work on me. I have trained crippled people in the gym with more drive than a lot of people. Give your partner the best you. Call the Couples Academy, get off your butt and do something. The whole staff is awesome. So the question that he actually has is a little different
There's a
from
question
everything
in there
else.
somewhere.
There is a question, but
I'm like,
it's
Ben, are you?
different from these comments. It's
Hold on, Ben.
different from these
Can I
comments.
sign your book? Can I sign this?
The question is about Danielle's show. When is it coming back? He's got fire to learn Enneagram. Positive vibes, prayers, and love. P.S. Cali situational awareness hasn't left me yet, brother. He wants to know, when is the Enneagram show coming back? I mean, that was the question that he asked.
All I can say is 2023. There it is. I appreciate that. All right, let's get into some questions. Here we have Stephanie. I decided I no longer wanted to be in the marriage anymore after the affair, in being unable to move past it because I felt that wasn't change. That wasn't change in. He didn't want to do counseling anymore. Now we are. I need. Now we are. Hold on. Separated for the second time, and he continues to try to keep ties to me, but not mentioning anything different to get the our ship relationship back on track or even move back in. Is this manipulation? I want Walter, I want you to jump in and kind of respond to this question.
Yeah, absolutely. So with this particular situation, I want to caution you about deciding not to move forward with the marriage any longer, because it sounds like there are some loose ends and some challenges there, some reluctance on his part to actually move forward and to figure out exactly what that is. Obviously, when you have the type of situation here where there has been some betrayal involved, accusations are being thrown around when it comes to control and manipulation and things of that nature. And so the biggest issue right now is that because he isn't willing to sit down for counseling, if you have not done so, we would strongly advise you to make sure that you are getting counseling. And so that will help to give you guidance as it relates to your next steps in the process. But just being very careful about making a sweeping judgment like that, to just throw your marriage away, to make sure that you do everything that you can do and exhaust all resources before you come to a final decision like that.
Lakeisha, can you weigh in on that as well?
Yeah, I think, the challenge that she is faced with right now is that it seems like the husband does not want to change from her perspective. It sounds like he's not willing to do anything different. And that's one of the reasons why she has been hesitant to move forward. But Stephanie, at the end of the day, it's really about you, sis. You know what I mean? Like, you can't control anything that your spouse does. You can't control how he shows up. The only person you can control is you. So I would say focus right now on your own healing and transformation and trying to get yourself to a space where you are confident and comfortable within yourself. And what we've seen many, many times is there is a spouse that's reluctant. There is a spouse that's ready to do the work that needs to be done. And so when that one spouse who's ready shows up and starts doing what they need to do, a lot of times that triggers and sets off that other spouse to then want to get on that path of healing and transformation as well. So I would just say focus on you right now and getting you where you desire to be.
I want to come back to you, Lakeisha. I do have a question here. Since you are the sex coach on the team, a question came in that I want you to respond to, and then I'll start passing it around. It says, this topic is on sex last week. So first of all, we have something called foundations. We're going to talk more about that in 2023, but we have members of that organization. And a question came in last week. Keisha mentioned our bodies not being our own. And that is such a trigger for me because That has been used every time that I try to express my lack for sexual intimacy. I always heard I always heard the term, "You are my wife," which really made sex a duty for me. Currently, we're still working through the issues, and I'm dealing with a lot of mental and physical issues that my husband does not seem to relate. I've tried discussing these things with my husband, and it seems to go in one ear and out the other. I can say that I have a headache, but then he would say, "Listen, I got something for your headache," every time because he wants sex. I really do not feel like I'm living up to the role of a wife in pleasing him on top of all the other marital issues that we face. And it seems as if my drive has driven off. Because I know that sex is a very stimulating and very important part of my husband, I just don't have a desire for it at all. He will express that he gets it, but later on in the day, all that goes out the door. I feel like I would rather remove myself from this marriage so that he can be fulfilled than be in a sexless relationship. So my question is it selfish of me to want to walk away and give space to the situation versus having to constantly know that this is his desire? This is what he wants, and just do it out of duty. I don't think that's fair to him, regardless of my love for him. And I want him to be fulfilled, not only mentally and emotionally, but sexually. And I honestly just don't have the desire. Oh, Lord, it's long. I really do feel like we're not in sync with a lot of things. Communication is there, but I guess not enough because we're just like two ships passing. And because we are so out of alignment, I feel as if the love is gone and we're holding on out of convenience. That was a lot. So I want Lakeisha to start, then we're going to jump over to Jeff.
Yes, that was a lot. But what happens many times is people will come to me and they want to talk about what's going on inside the bedroom and ignore everything that's going on outside of it. Everything that you have mentioned in this comment is about intimacy and a lack of connection between the two of you. One of the things that really gets me a little a little hot and a little heated on the inside, and not in a good way, in a negative way, is when any spouse tries to manipulate their spouse with sex, when they try to use that as a way to control anything, or using the word of God to try to control or manipulate their spouse into having sex. The quickest way to destroy someone's libido is to put pressure on sex. That is the libido killer. That is the desire killer and the passion killer, when you're pressuring someone into having sex. So, when I talk about your body is not your own, really what I'm talking about is we made a covenant, right, with God, the three of us. And that means that we're going to be committed to one another only. That, again, my body doesn't belong to me, yours doesn't belong to you. Like, literally, we are one, right? We're connected. So whatever it is that you desire, I desire, we should be fulfilling those desires, as long as it doesn't violate anything morally, ethically, spiritually, or whatever the case may be. So, and it's about not stepping outside of your marriage. It's about keeping that commitment with each other. So duty sex is never going to be passionate. It's never going to feel good. You're never going to get excited about that. You will never get stimulated or turned on by duty sex. So why are you not enjoying sex? Are you not being fulfilled? Is that the reason why you don't have that drive? The pressure is one thing, but even when you're willing, are you enjoying what you're doing? Because if you're not, then that's another reason why you won't be jumping up and down and beating your spouse to the bedroom. So I just think there's a lot of issues going on that you guys need to address. I'm glad you're in Foundations because that helps. But you definitely are going to have some real and raw, but not rude, conversations with each other about what's missing for you personally.
Jeff, weigh in.
Side note, real quick, y'all need to start asking questions while we're answering, because I'm not seeing a lot of questions in this morning. But besides that, I know who this is. I know I absolutely 100% who this is. I want to say, look, it's been 8 months, sis. It's been 8 months. Like, you're just beginning the process, and you guys haven't even ironed out the beginnings of everything that's that it's going to take to get where you need to go. This is a process. I didn't get it right with my wife. I slept on the couch for 3 years, and I had no help. Okay, and I figured it out. But there is a desire on both parts to try to fix this. There's just some immaturity there. There's some growth that needs to happen. There's some learnings that need to happen, and there's some discipline that needs to happen. And that's on both sides, really. But specifically, we know what we're talking about there. I don't think the right thing to do is to run because you're afraid of the situation. And I don't think the right thing to do is to run because it's taking time. Because damage sometimes takes time to heal. I injured myself about 5 months ago in a gym. I'm just using a physical example. And even though it's starting to heal, there are still things I can't do because it hurts too much. There are still things that I can't do because even though most of my range of motion has come back, in certain positions, at certain angles, at certain moments, and certain stresses will cause pain on that particular part of the body. But that doesn't mean it's not healing. It's in its process.
Excellent points. I appreciate you too. Listen, guys, you're watching Ask the Experts. It's Friday. We're here to answer your questions. We're about to go to a quick commercial break, but when we get back, we'll have more of your questions. Stay right there.
Welcome to the Couples Academy app. The Couples Academy app is your go-to hub for how to do marriage right. Get started with our app today by perusing our amazing features that conveniently allow you to connect. This app is packed with powerful content and resources to help you grow and stay connected. With this app, you can watch our messages, find marriage resources, watch, listen, and read the real-life stories of restored couples, sign up for events, read articles and blog posts, stay up to date with push notifications, share your favorite messages via Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or email, and download messages for offline listening. For more information about the Couples Academy app, go to couplesacademy.org.
We're back, guys. Welcome to the Couples Academy show. We're answering your questions. Another question just came through. We want to take the time to unpack this. After our foundations sessions, therapy sessions, etc., I always have the desire to recap or to discuss what came out of the session or just take a moment to take it all in. Is it a good idea for us? How do I encourage these discussions with my spouse? Is the recap immediately after overkill? I'm always curious about what he is thinking. So Roland and then Walter, I want you to weigh in on that.
So how many times have we gone to a movie or went to a play or something like that, and after it was over, we was excited about it. We wanted to talk about it. We wanted to share what we got out of it. And just like with our sessions, when we go through this experience of learning, of being taught, of being poured into, no, it's not overkill to have conversations about it and be able to share and bounce off of each other the ideas or what we have learned. That's how we grow. That's how things begin to take place or take shape for what we desire and for what we want. And so when you have the expression of wanting to share, how you're feeling after your session, that's excitement, because now you have a vision of where you're going, what you're desiring. You're moving in alignment. And when you're moving in alignment, that is the best place to be, because you have a end destination or end goal. So no, it's not overkill. And how do you get your husband to do it? You just have to engage. You tell him your thoughts. Sooner or later, he's going to come around and tell you his. You want to be able to share how you're feeling what you have just gone through, to express what you got out of the situation, out of the session.
Walter.
Yeah, I was going to say thank you for this question, but it also does speak to how we process and learn. And so oftentimes when we work with couples, you will have one individual that they're excited about what they've heard. They want to talk about it. They want to recap. And then you have the other person that actually needs to kind of sit in it and really process everything that they've heard. So this is a great opportunity for you and your husband to have a conversation as it relates to what does follow up after these type of sessions look like. What we like to tell our clients, right, is that the work with our sessions really is before our sessions start and after they end. Because really these sessions are, 30 minutes, 50 minutes. And so really it's more of like check-in and you getting instruction. So it's not the end all be all. And so it is important to have those follow-up conversations, but it is more important to make sure that they're done in a way that's going to be constructive and productive for both of you. So you want it to be a really productive conversation. And that may not always be immediately following the meeting. That may be the morning after, but it is important that those follow-up conversations are had.
And I agree. Like, I mean, listen, we go to church on Sundays and you get in the car and you're driving home and it's silent and you're like, we just heard this powerful message. Like, what are your thoughts? Do you have anything to say? What was your feedback? Like, it's just a natural thing that you do after experiencing something together. But to your point, some people need time to kind of process. Other people want to go right in. And so whatever you come up with, I think is good, but you also have your work day, right? That's the whole purpose of a work day, where you're spending a lot of time diving into critical issues that will enhance your relationship. So great question and great answers. Lakeisha, this is for you. And then I want some of the men to weigh in on this as well. As a woman, have you ever had the fear of being more of the breadwinner in the household? I feel like I'm postponing my potential, waiting for my husband to fly financially. This is a good question.
Yeah, it is. It's so good. Oh my gosh, it's so
it.
good. Thank you, Great Mom Goals. So my first question to you is, what are your goals that you have for yourself, and have you discussed them with your husband? Are you guys in alignment with what your goals are? Have I had fear? Absolutely not. No, ma'am. As a matter of fact, that is my goal, to make more money than him. And I've told him that. That's exactly what I want to do. And there's a such thing as healthy competition, right? So I'm looking at you like, okay, let me see your check this month. You want to see my check this month? Let me show you what I did. So yes, I'm here for that. And so my question also for you is, what did God say? Because you said you're postponing your potential, waiting for your husband to fly financially. Did God tell you to do that? Are you a woman of faith? Like, what is, and if you're not, that's cool, but what is your vision for your future? And then what is your joint vision with your husband? And if you don't have one, you guys need to create one. And you're asking me about my fear. So that leads me to believe that you have fear. What's the root of that? Were there women in your family who were bosses and they made more and then they lost their husbands? Like, what happened? Where's that coming from? Where you're even questioning whether or not you should excel beyond your husband's financial gains. And then my last piece of advice is, go ahead, sis, and be a boss in the boardroom and let him be a boss in the bedroom.
Listen, I think that was an excellent answer. And I think every one of us probably can add value to that question from our own perspectives and from our own insights. So I want to go to Walter, then I'm going to go to Roland, then I want to go to Jeff.
So really quick, and full disclosure, when my wife and I, when we first got married, been married 22 years out now, she asked me, she said, how would you ever feel about me making more money than you? And I told her I didn't have a problem with it. What I realize now, her asking me that, was her telling me I'm going to go hard. So you better go hard because I'm going to be on my grind. Like, that's what she was actually saying. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I had a conversation with one of my friends, and he was in a situation where his wife was making more than him, and he was feeling similar to Great Mom, your post, as it relates to like he's not doing his part. And I told him about a situation where one time I prayed and I asked God for increase, and my wife got a promotion. And I went back to God and I said, God, I prayed for increase. He said, I sent increase and it was through her. Two people, one household, one income. This whole idea of two becoming one means that when the blessing comes through either you or her, it came into the one, into the household. That's where the focus is.
Powerful. Roland.
Yes.
See, I don't like coming behind these two folks right here because, you know, it just makes it so much harder to try to have to answer this question, right? But I will say this. When we get into alignment, that is the key point. When we get into alignment and we are all on one accord, as long as we making bread together, we both win. So we are breadwinners together, and we don't have to look at this competition against one another to try to outdo one another because we will all win, right? So as long as we understand our role and we understand our place, we're going to win regardless. That's all I got, because I'm not trying to go after these guys. That's all I got. We going to bread together, and we'll win.
Excellent, Pastor. All right, now come on, Jeff.
I'm going to go a different direction with this. And my question is, sincerely, I don't think it's about the money. I think it's about his purpose. Is he living his purpose? Because I'm going to tell you right now what I've noticed. First of all, money is just a representation of the value that others place. First, that you place in yourself, and secondly, that you can convince other people to place in your work, your labor, your efforts, your creations, whatever you're doing in the world. That's just a representation of that value. That's only one representation of the value. I think what your real question says is he living in his purpose? And I think your conflict is in that, because if he was going out there doing the best version of him, you're seeing that as a financial representation, because that's the phrase that you're looking at right now. But I may be wrong, but I think when most women talk to me about their spouses not making money, it's about them not living up to their purpose. And I'm telling you, most men have in this world right now have not found their purpose, and they have no idea what it means to be a man in this modern age and maintain that sense of who they are in this new world where all of the norms have been broken. Yep. And many of those things were for positive purposes, but left some negative consequences because people weren't paying attention to the hearts of men as these changes were being made. So I will say that, you know, I'm just going to point. Give them to me, sis.
Foundry. Let me just add this. Couple of books ago, I've written 15 books. A couple of books ago, it was entitled Why We Hate Black Women and Why We Should Love Them. And in that particular book, I dealt with this whole issue of finances and how it impacts relationships. And oftentimes you have women who have outperformed their men. They have out-educated. They have out-employed their men. So it appears to be a challenge in the relationship. There was a time when we had, pretty women and working men. And then there's been a shift in society where you have a whole lot of pretty men and working women. We switch roles, right? And so that's created challenges in a relationship. But let's say a situation where they both are gainfully employed. They make more money. I have seen, I'm going to go on both sides. I have seen wives who have made literally 50 cents more an hour than their husbands. And for some reason, it has crushed their husband, that somehow they felt less of a man. All types of fears and insecurities began to rise up. And in an unhealthy way, because I totally agree with Lakeisha that, you should have a healthy competition. Danielle and I have a healthy competition when it comes to things. But in an unhealthy way, you look at your spouse as somebody that you now have to outdo. You have to one up. You have to be better than. And oftentimes it creates a whole lot of negative energy in the household, a whole lot of conflict, a whole lot of shutdown, a whole lot of misdirection of anger towards a spouse that she's not due because of what's going on inside of that man. That is a major problem. So a lot of men have major insecurities about a spouse who does well. But on the flip side, let's flip it now. For those women who make more, a lot of men don't have a problem with the fact that you make more money. That's not the issue. It's the attitude of superiority that you bring into the relationship, where now you're constantly comparing yourself to what you've done and what listen, I bring my money and what you got. So now it's a competition. And so what you have done is you have emasculated your man because of your purse, and that creates issues in the relationship. So I would say if you make more, celebrate the fact that you make more, but don't bring in the wrong attitude. And men, if your wife makes more, don't be punked out, because I think what Walter said was so critically important. God gave you increase through your spouse. Listen, your boss spouse speaks to your ability to properly select, not someone that you should be intimidated by. And once we understand that, things begin to change. All right, we got one more question. I want Walter, since I haven't seen you for a while, we miss you, brother. I want you to hit this and I want you to close this out. Here's the question. I feel men just don't want the time. This is not the question. Hold on. I feel that men just don't want the time it takes to heal from the betrayed words they cause and go the easy route. In my case, back his affair. Okay.
Back to
Okay.
his affair partner.
I'm glad you said that, because I'm not an interpreter. So Lakeisha, you speak to that, and Walter, I'm gonna hit you with the final one. What are your thoughts on that?
That men don't want to take the time to heal from the wounds. I mean, maybe it depends on the man. It really just depends on the man. I mean, the clients that I'm working with that are showing up to get support, they're willing to do the work. The trouble comes in when the betrayed doesn't do the work, because they're not seeing a return on their investment. They're going hard in the paint. They're doing what they need to do. Like they're praying, they're helping you with your triggers, they're working on themselves, they join Foundry, they're doing all of these things. And then you're not changing, you're staying the same. They're not seeing any type of growth in you as the betrayed, and that will make them say, why am I doing this? What am I putting in all of this work and effort for if you're going to continue to show up the same way? So I'm going to be better, and I'm going to end up with the same spouse that I had before that wasn't doing what I needed, wanted, desired, asked for in the past. Why do I keep doing this? What's the worth? What's the value in me doing this? So I think that's the issue. And on the flip side, you do have some that no, they don't want it. It's too hard. It's too much work, too much damage, and they don't want to do it. So it really just depends on the individual.
Now, hold on one second. Now, Roland, as a member of Foundry, okay, you have been in the midst of a multitude of men from all walks of life, from all over the world. Do you find it to be true that men don't want to heal or don't take the time to heal?
That is absolutely not true, contrary to popular belief. Men want to heal. Men want to put in the work. Men want to do it. I am a living witness and testimony of it. And so when we make up in our minds of being better versions of ourselves, and we surround ourselves around other men that want to be better versions of themselves, so now you have an army of men that want to be better versions of ourselves. Now you have the foundry of men, of phenomenal men that want to be. We put in the work. Trust me. Every single day. And
okay, I'm not scared of y'all. I'm not scared of none of y'all. We're talking about men versus boys, okay? Men versus boys. Men will show up committed and ready to do the work. Boys will run from the work that it takes to do the work. I'm not scared of y'all.
Here's the deal. Most men, I would say maybe 10%, 15% max of men don't want to be better men. Maybe. What I find is they don't know what a good man looks like. And when they do see them, they don't think it's possible for themselves because they're too damaged. They believe that they're not worthy of that they're not capable of that. And they don't realize it's a perspective switch and a commitment to daily discipline. It's not going to happen overnight. Most men are quitters. That's the problem. They are quitters. They get beaten in basketball too hard. They get off the court and want to change and play tennis. You know, they get beaten in tennis and then they want to go, well, maybe I'm good at checkers. I couldn't play football in college, so now my life's over. This is what is happening to most of these men. And when they're confronted with a real man who doesn't just use that as a competition tool, but says, you can come with me on this journey, that's when you start seeing change.
I mean, I absolutely agree with everything you just said. But for all the women listening, I don't want you to think for a second that men have a monopoly on being quitters, because many of you as well have quit this process. To your point, Lakeisha, have not done the necessary work, are so focused on what your spouse is doing that
True.
it's you become preoccupied with that and don't do the necessary work yourself. Both of you are broken. Both of you need to be healed and restored. Both of you have to do the heavy lifting to get out of the situation that you're in to get to a better place. So if you can't change what your man is doing, all you can do in the meantime is focus on you. Because when you change and you become your best self, it forces him to do something different,
Yeah.
period, point blank. And we've seen that happen time and time and time again. Last question. This is for you, my brother. I just went back to the same one. I'm sorry. I keep skipping. Okay, here we go. How does one deal with hard conversations? Should they be put away or just move forward? Or is it there some work to be done? How does one process in a healthy way? I think this is a great question, Walter, because many people run from difficult or challenging, or as your wife would say, courageous conversations.
Absolutely. And so the first thing I will say is that anything that you continue to avoid when it's important like that will eventually lead to your demise. Like,
Mm.
just know that. So, as it relates to being putting away or moving forward, that is actually delaying the inevitable. So know that. Um, as it relates to your question of how to deal with them, you're definitely going to need, it sounds like you're going to need an arbitrator, a counsel, you're going to need a mediator, someone to help you to navigate those discussions. If you do not have the tools, if you don't have the strategies to be able to have those conversations, then you definitely need to reach out to Couples Academy, because that is what we specialize in, is helping you all to come to a common place and have an understanding so that you can have productive conversations and utilize those tools so that you can have productive dialogue on your own. But if you can't get there by yourself, it is imperative that you reach out to us to do that, because otherwise, as you continue to push those crucial and courageous conversations off, the more damage that's going to take place in your relationship.
Powerful, powerful answer. I want to thank each and every one of you for just dropping bombs and dropping mics all morning long. Listen, guys, you've been watching Ask the Experts this Friday. Hope you have an amazing weekend. And on Monday, we're going to start the countdown to Christmas. We're just about a week and some change away. Have you done your shopping? Have you gotten what you needed to get for the loved ones? If not, this is a perfect weekend to get that started. Anyway, love you guys and see you on Monday as we continue in the conversation on separation and divorce. Talk to you soon.